I think it's now 5 past the hour, so we will kick off. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Lorraine Wright, the Head of Sales for Growth for Me. Just to tell you a little bit about my journey and my story, I came across Growth for Me at a time when I was looking for opportunities to invest in the Ghanaian agriculture landscape. And I came across this fantastic company. And you know, the moment they told me about this opportunity to get involved in farming, whilst I can be at home in the comfort of my own living room, I thought it's a no-brainer, let me get involved. So I got involved first as a sponsor. You know, so I'm talking here today with two hats on. First, as a sponsor, because my money is literally in this. And secondly, as a head of sales for Growth for Me. So when I, came involved in the company, I was so intrigued about the model. I really wanted to share the opportunity with more people out there. And that's how, long story short, I became on the team. I came on the team and became the head of sales for Growth for Me. So without further ado, we'll go through these slides. And if anyone has any questions, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Zoom, do feel free to chat, drop us a chat message in the chat window, and I can address those questions either as we go through or towards the end of the session. So what is Growth for Me all about? Growth for Me is a web-based agricultural crowdfunding and crowd farming platform. Essentially what we do is we enable anyone to farm and generate reasonably good returns. This could be anywhere from 5% up to 30%. But before I go on, I want to be very clear. This, like most other investment opportunities, there's always risk involved. So before, if there's anything you're looking for, if you're looking for a quick way to make money and you're on this call because you're looking for a surefire way to invest your money, maybe this might not be the right opportunity, but rather what we are doing is we are all about social impact. We're all about sponsoring smallholder experienced farmers in a profit sharing model. We do that to allow them to grow more crops so that we can all share the profits. So when I talk about profit sharing, ever so slightly different to the vanilla model of investment where you are investing and you're purchasing an asset. This is rather where you are sponsoring these farmers. The farmers grow on your behalf. We as Growth for Me then share those, we sell those crops, and then the profits are then split between the farmer, themselves as a sponsor, and ourselves at Growth for Me. So the model is pretty simple. It's a profit sharing model. But as I said, there's always risks involved. We can never guarantee the returns, but we're always targeting between 5 up to 30%. For example, during our last couple of cycles, our first cycle returned our sponsors 22% or 27% or thereabouts, and our second cycle returned our sponsors about 24%. So we do have evidence, proven track record of being able to deliver our returns for our sponsors. Where we have not been able to deliver our returns for our sponsors, we have rolled over that money in order to make sure that we can actually generate something for them. What we're all about is making sure that food can be more accessible and affordable to people across the continent. We're all about social impact first. We're all about improving the livelihoods of those smallholder farmers and their communities. What we do is we also leverage drone and satellite imagery. We have a solution or system called the EOS, where we help to keep sponsors up to date and also to facilitate the yield growth, the yield predictions, and also to understand what's going on when it comes to climate prediction and weather, for instance. We focus right now on cereals. We focus on high demand crops. Those are namely maize, soybean, and pineapple, and also rice, which is available on our platform. Very soon, we're going to be opening up to cash crops and looking at other crops as well. For example, sorghum, pepper, cabbage, coconut, cashew, cocoa, and mango, and so on and so forth. Also, what's very important, of course, when you're looking at where to put your money, it's also important to know how we are regulated. We are SEC approved and a registered broker on the Ghana Commodity Exchange. So if you visit the Ghana Commodity Exchange and you want to check out who the registered brokers are, you can search Growth for Me, and you'll also find there that we are listed as a registered broker. So when it comes to Growth for Me, how it all works, essentially what you do is you visit our website, which is growthforme.com. You pick one of our crops, and I'll shortly show you what our website shows you. You pick a crop and you can select the number of units that you would like. Now, everything we have on our website is actually measured in the units of a crop, is actually measured by a unit. Now, when we talk about a unit, that is the equivalent of 1/8 of an acre. Now, if you want to picture what an acre is like, it's about the size of a football field, you know? So if you want to understand what 1/8 of that is, that's the equivalent of, you want to take a football field, divide it into 8 segments, and you are sponsoring, and 1 unit is therefore equal to that one piece of 8 that you have. So that's what happens when you go onto a website and you're looking to sponsor. You can sponsor 1 unit, or you can sponsor multiple units, but always have in the back of your mind that 8 units is equivalent of 1 acre. So if you wanted to buy 1 acre or sponsor 1 acre of land, that will be, you'll select 8 units. So once you've done that, you pay for it, you sit back and you monitor the progress of your crops. So you can log onto your account at any time and you can see the progress of your crops through the process. What we do at Grow For Me is, once those crops have been grown, we will then work with different bodies to make sure that those items are then sold. So we do the trade activity, and also very soon with Grow For Me, you can actually sponsor some of the trade activities, and we'll talk about that very soon. So we at Grow For Me will harvest, support the farmer with harvesting, then we'll sell those crops, and it is that money that is made from the sale of the crop which constitutes the principal amount that you'll get back, and the profits. Now the profits is then distributed amongst the farmer, yourself, and us at Grow For Me. Grow For Me will get 15%, that's 1-5. You as a sponsor will get 50%, that is 50. And then the farmer will get 35%. So that is how the profits is distributed. Now, what you'll do is you'll get back your principal plus your profits at the end of the cycle if a profit has been made. Now, if you want to in the future, you can feel free to sponsor another crop, as most of our sponsors tend and like to do as well. So the people that are interested in Grow For Me tend to be those people that are looking to diversify their portfolio, looking for an opportunity to invest in anything else other than the typical things that are out there, like real estate, stock markets, etc. Agriculture is a perfect opportunity for you to diversify your portfolio. You might already have some interest in agriculture, you're just looking at ways and means to get involved, but you just don't know how. Or you might have an interest in Africa, or more specifically Ghana, want to look at how you can support the ecosystem, or more importantly, how you can support the bettering of that country, or also the wider continent as well. So what has coronavirus taught us about the agriculture value chain? I'm sure wherever you are in the country, if you cast your minds back to last year, when wherever you are and the government announced lockdown, what did everyone go and do? They ran out to go and buy tissue, toilet paper, and they went to go and buy food. Now, food is very much made up primarily, is supported primarily by the agriculture value chain. So there was an increased demand at that period, and still to this day, on the agriculture value chain. So we actually saw and actually heightened the demand and the necessity for food during the pandemic. You know, we are still very much in the pandemic, but what we started to see is that demand and the rise for agriculture actually was increasing during the pandemic. So food security, as I said, we at Grow For Me are all about social impact. In Africa, currently, there are 1.2 billion Africans. By 2050, it is predicted that there will be 2.3 billion Africans. Right now, we are unable to feed all that 1.2 billion individuals. So how on earth are we going to be able to feed all the 2.5 billion people that are projected to be here in 30 years' time? There is a significant challenge right now, and that is what we at Grow For Me are trying to do our part and play our part with helping to reduce and mitigate that challenge. What we are finding right now is that there is a lack of investment in agriculture. Because there is a lack of money plugged into agriculture, we are finding that a lot of the farmers that we are very heavily reliant on today, they are aging. So if you think about it, if you think about a farmer, think about the kind of age group that you think about a farmer. You know, what does that picture of a farmer look like to you? Most people tend to think of a middle-aged or older age farmer. And that is, you know, pretty accurate. That is primarily because there's a lack of investment going in. So it means that typically the successors who are likely to be the children of the farmers are running away because they don't see money in agriculture, they don't see money in farming. So they're running away to the cities to do office jobs, to do other jobs where they can get more money. And so what's happening is that because there is no one that is exceeding the farmers, there is likely to be this gap where, there's going to be no food grown, from those farmers. So inevitably there's this gap where there's going to be less and less food produced. And we don't want that to happen. So we are all about trying to plug that gap with investment, marrying sponsors' money to people like you that are watching me today with our farmers, so we can make sure that we have food that is going to be accessible for everyone in 2050. So meet Monica. Monica has a little bit of spare cash, realizes during the pandemic that, she wants to put her money in something. She realizes that agriculture is booming. In fact, in Ghana, whilst our GDP in some areas have shrunk, agriculture has formed tremendous, has actually made up a lot more of the GDP than it had in other years. In fact, it probably makes up the larger proportion of our GDP. So someone like Monica has realized that agriculture across the world is blossoming and wants to get involved, but just doesn't know how to do it by herself. So Grow For Me is a perfect opportunity for her where she can put her money in and just, sit back, relax and farm without having to leave home. Or you've got someone like Mike. Mike is very interested in social impact. He's very green conscious and likes to improve the livelihoods of smallholder farmers, just like we do, and helping them to create more jobs, more wealth as well. So Mike is very interested also in the Grow For Me. So Grow For Me is really about people that are interested in social impact, but also in generating some sort of financial returns. So let me show you how Grow For Me works. Let me take you to our website. Our website is www.growforme.com. When you get to our website, you will see this site here, this landing page. On the landing page, you'll see the various crops that are available. So currently today we have pineapple available, rice available, maize available, and soya bean available. We've had previous cycles which have all sold out. Maize 2, a previous cycle of soya beans, previous cycle of maize, pineapples, and so on and so forth. So you can see the various crops that we have done and closed. Now, let me give you an illustrative example of how this all works. When you see our site, so let's take rice, for example, you would see the cost per unit. Everything on our website is denominated by cities, Ghana cities. You will then see what the return on sponsorship will be. So on the right-hand side, you will see that the approximate return on investment or sponsorship for rice is between 5.4% up to 21.59%. And that is for the period of sponsorship. This is not annualized. This is that period that you are sponsoring. So the period that you are sponsoring is listed here. The farming start date, so when we will be starting farming for rice, is the 20th of May this year. The end date, so rice, as you can see, has a very, very short cycle. It will be ending by the 30th of October. So you will receive, if there is any return on investment, your sponsorship, so your principal amount plus any profits due to you, approximately a month or 2 months after this date, after we have harvested. That is to allow us at Grow For Me to sell the products, to trade the items so that you can receive the best possible return on your sponsorship. Then you see also here the farming location. So here, this is a location that we'll be farming the rice. We normally typically farm in a region. We do not farm in one particular farm. Now we do that because we want to mitigate as much risk as possible. So what typically happens with Grow For Me is, let's say there is 1,000 of you today that wish to sponsor. All of that money that's raised from your sales will then be put into a pot. That pot will then be dispersed across different farms that are already farming rice, or farmers that are already farming rice, or typically used to farming rice rather. They have more than 3 years experience, they form part of communities, and they have been growing rice on their particular land. So we've got the trust and we understand what they've been doing. And typically with rice, for those people that know, you need to have a lot of water in those areas. So a lot of due diligence that we go through with our farmers, and we make sure that they are close to a water source as well. So you would see here that the farming location, I've had a privilege to actually visit some of the farms in Tamale, northern Ghana. That is approximately 10 hours out of Accra by car. Now, once you, in Tamale, there are a number of farming communities. So that money is then dispersed across those different communities in that region. So if you were interested in rice, for instance, you would see the price, as I said, the potential return on the sponsorship. There is a range there, and I'll give you some information in terms of why there is a range when we move on to the next section. You'll see the farming start date, as I said, and the farming end date, and then also the farming location. You can see that for every single crop that is also available as well, okay? So once you have decided upon the crop that you wish to sponsor with Grow For Me, you'll click on Sponsor a Farm. And that will take you to your logon page. I will just sign in with my own credentials. If you're not yet a sponsor, you can just log on and create an account very simply. So once you've been directed to this page, you'll be given some information about how many units you purchase, you want to purchase, and potentially what the returns will be on that. So let's take, for example, rice. You'll give your farm a name. So I can see there's a few people on the call today. We can give the name Caleb's Farm. So say that Caleb wants to farm rice. So once you've named your farm, you can then pick how many units you would like. So as I said, a unit is equivalent of 1/8 of an acre. So you think about a football field and you divide it into 8 segments. One of those eighths is a unit. So if you wanted to purchase or sponsor an acre, you would select 8. But for the purpose of this example, I'm going to think about it in terms of my budget. So let's say, for example, and you can have whatever budget as long as it's minimum of 1 unit. So as I showed you, 1 unit, you can purchase 1 unit, and you can see here what the price of 1 unit is. But if you, for example, had a budget and said, you know, I'm loving what Grow For Me does, I have about £1,000, right, to spend. And £1,000 is equivalent of roughly 8,000 Ghana cedis. So if you wanted to sponsor about 8,000 Ghana cedis, you would just click. You can use this up-down arrow to dynamically change the right-hand side, so you understand approximately what your 8,000 Ghana cedis will get you. So approximately that's 36 units for me if I wanted to sponsor that. So on the right-hand side, you will see that with my 36 units of rice, you will see what the cost of production is. So this is the figure that was given to you on the front homepage. You will then see the service charge. Now, the service charge is 10% of what you are sponsoring. That is to facilitate our extension officers, our drone pilots, our farming operations team to go and monitor the farms, our satellite imagery, etc. So these are the costs that are needed or necessary in order to make sure that the farms, are growing according to what we have sponsored. You'll see then the range of profit margin, and then you'll see the grand total in terms of what you have to pay today. Then you will see what your potential return on sponsorship will be. So you can see on the downside, on the low side, approximately my return to my 8,000 Ghana cedis or thereabout is roughly 420 Ghana cedis. That's roughly, if you are from the UK, roughly 30 or 40, no, I should know this off the top of my head, 400 Ghana cedis to GBP. Roughly £50. If you are in the USA and you're interested in USD, that return is roughly $70. Okay. On the low side, that's potentially the return of 5.4%. On the high side, if you're going for roughly 21%, you are looking at a range, a rough return of $200 or $300 thereabouts. And in pounds, roughly £215. If you are in South Africa, you are looking at about 4,466 rands. Where else, if you're looking at euros, you're looking at roughly 250 euros, and so on and so forth. You can just plug it in so you can understand what your potential returns will be. Now, your returns are always driven by 2 things. The first thing is the yield. The second thing is the price. Now, I'll talk to you a little bit about those 2 things because they are really what's driving that large range. I always get asked the question, why is there such a large range in terms of your profit margin, right? And it's very important to understand those 2 variables. Now, let's talk about yield. So I've purchased 36 units, right, today. Let's assume in this example. That 36 units will then be, so there will be seeds planted in those 36 units. I think everyone knows, and there's not rocket science to know, that if you plant 36 seeds, you know there is a potential, there is growth. You know, once the crop comes up, so once the maize comes up, the corn, as most of us in the UK are familiar with corn in it, when the corn comes, they might range in different sizes, different weights. Yeah. So when they are grown and harvested, they are then bagged and then they are weighed. And that will give you the weight of what your yield would be, right? So you can't determine from 36 units exactly what the weight would be, because your corn will grow at different lengths, different thicknesses, different weights, etc. Some of them might not even grow. You know, some of them might not sprout. This is the reality of agriculture. There might not have been as much rain. There might have been more rain in one area. That is the reality. So there'll be a different variation in terms of what the yield would be. Now, typically with the Minister of Food and Agriculture, there is a standard that is applied to an acre. So when you plant an acre of maize, how much is given? So we're talking about rice, apologies here. So in this example, we're talking about rice. So when you are planting, or you're planting the seeds for rice, there is a general standard for approximately 1 acre, how much that is likely to produce. And here it is written 1,500 kilos of rice up to 1,800 kilos of rice is the standard, right? Approximately for the yield for per acre. Now, based on the 36 units that I have purchased in this example of rice, it has given me, this calculation has given me approximately what I might get on the low side and what I might get on the high side when the rice is then harvested, bagged, and weighed, right? So that is the yield. Then we talk about price. The price may vary, but there is a standard range with prices. Those people that are in Ghana, you might be familiar when you go to the market and you go to you go one time of the year to another time of the year, there could be a different price. You know that with avocados might not always be in seasons. There's going to be a high price at one time of the year and a low price at another time of the year. It depends on when the item has been harvested and is sold, determines when the price will be. Also, we are listed on the Ghana Commodity Exchange, so we do have access to typically the price at any given time of the market. You know, we typically can sell either through the Ghana Commodity Exchange or directly to the market as well. Now, you can see here the estimated price per kilo. So we take a kilo of the rice that you've grown. It's approximately 1 cedi 30 pesewas up to 1 cedi 40 pesewas. So those two, the yield and the price, will determine what your rate return will be. So on the low side, everyone, so the total pie will be 8,775 Ghana cedis. And on the high side will be 11,340 Ghana cedis. Now that then is split, as I said, between you, which will get 50%, the farmer who gets 35%, and Grow For Me who gets 15%. So you can see that then broken down here. To the bottom, you will see on the low side what you may get, and on the high side what you will then get. So let's assume that we got this return of 427 Ghana cedis. That will be on top of the 7,020 Ghana cedis that you had initially invested. Now, my disclaimer is, like every investment out there, there are always risks involved, but we at Grow For Me make sure we do as many things as possible to mitigate the risks, right? We disperse the fund into different areas, into different farms, so we do not concentrate the risk of drought, for example. We also make sure that we have supervision and extension officers visiting the land very, very often. We make sure that we've got satellite imagery where we're tracking the weather as well. There's a number of things that we put in place to make sure we try and mitigate as much risk as possible. As I said, in the past, where we have not generated the return, we have rolled over the funds so that we can try as much as possible to return those funds for our sponsors, but we can never guarantee those returns. But we have done very well in the past, where we have generated 27% for our sponsors and also 24% for our second cycle sponsors. So let's say, for example, you wanted to invest in rice, at 36 units. You can decide to take your money, the returns, as cash, or you can take it as crop. So if you were interested in starting a new rice business, you know that in Ghana in 2 years' time, they're going to be banning the import of rice. You might want to start up your own rice brand, right? So you can take out this rice as crop. Then you can, what we will do is we will then grow the items. We will sell 50% so we can pay ourselves and also the farmers. And you can come and collect the remaining 50% and you can do whatever you wish to do with it. And there you can take the rice, you can bag it, you can brand it, do whatever you want to do with it and sell it. So totally up to you. So you can then select the option of crop. So if you took the option of cash for the sake of this example and wanted to pay for it, you can pay by your card. So you can pay either by a local Ghanaian card or international bank card. Or you can pay by mobile money. Those people abroad, there are so many different apps now that you can pay with mobile money, from Sendwave, Tap Send. Note, I am not an ambassador for any of those apps, but I just think they're totally, brilliant. There's World Remit, TransferWise, etc., etc. You can use these apps to send mobile money. So mobile monies, then they typically do have better rates than other options as well. And there's also bank. If you want to make a direct deposit to our bank, either locally, if you're in Ghana, you physically want to take the cash to the bank, or you want to do a direct transfer either through a remittance company or through your online banking, you can do that. When you click on bank, you'll be given the bank account details, and you could put in those into your bank account, your portal, and you can then pay the bank directly. So those options are there for you. And then you simply click on I encourage you to read the terms and conditions before you click on that, and then you'll pay now, and you'll be then given your receipt as well. So let's say, for example, you have paid and you now have your farm, right? You will start to see at the point of the farming start date, the different stages emerge in your account. So you will not see anything, it will be blank until the farming start date has started. So here you can see that rice has a start date of 20th of May. So you won't see anything in your account until the 20th of May. If you sponsored maize 1, you'll start to see progress or pictures emerge in your account from the 15th of April. If you sponsored pineapple, you'll start to see pictures emerge from the 15th of June, and so on and so forth. Now, we encourage you not to wait till these dates before you sponsor, because we have sold out of every single cycle we have done in the past. So we very much encourage you to sponsor it now. And that's to secure your farm. There's so many times that people have come back closer to this date and they've realized that we've closed it, right? So please do not wait to this start date, but take up the opportunity as soon as possible. So let's take, for example, you have sponsored and your cycle has started. I'll show you an example of how some farms may look. So if you go to your page, you will start to see your back end, so your back end office, and you get to see the stages of your crop. So you can see the land preparation, so you can see pictures of what happens. And I was on a call earlier today with the head of farming unit, and I didn't come on board with any experience in farming, so I'm learning a lot as we go through. But our head of farming said the land preparation is the most important process in the entire growth, process. And that's him there, Francis. He's then speaking to one of the head of the communities in northern part of Ghana, and preparing the land that we had last year for, I believe this was soybean. So you get to see the cycle, what's happening. You get to keep updated with the various stages of the growth. You get to see then the planting. So what's happens through the planting cycle. And what's very interesting in Ghana, everything is very manual. So you think about, there's no combine harvesters or anything like that with the smallholder farmers that we are sponsoring. When they are farming, it is typical that they use 1 foot length to determine where the next seed is then planted. So you can see this man and the pace, the spacing of his feet, that is helping him to determine where to then plant the next seed, right? So this is the planting stage of the soybeans. You can see them there planting. And then you get to see the crop growth and the maintenance stage. My internet's going a little bit slow, forgive me. And yet see the beautiful soybeans at their growth stage. Soybean is really high demand. For those people that are unaware, soybean is, an alternative or used in meat alternatives. So with the rise of veganism, and those who are vegetarians, soybean is a replacement for dairy and also for meat products as well. So you get to see the harvesting stage for the soybeans. You can see the soybeans just there, hanging. And so once those have been harvested, they are then bagged and then go off for trade and selling, so that we can generate the returns for our sponsors. So you are kept up to date. There's more functions and features through there. You can see the satellite imagery as well, and keep up to date. So that is Growth for Me and essentially how the website works. So just to, before we wrap up, I will just summarize what the returns process will be. So if you wanted to then receive your cash back at the end of the cycle, you can receive it through a bank account. So it was an international bank account. It's $40 for you to receive that funding back to that bank account outside of Ghana. If it's a local bank account, it's 25 Ghana cedis. It's a virtual card, so most people can buy things and purchase things online nowadays. You can receive that card, which is a Ghana cedis denominated bank issued by GT Bank, or you can receive the funding through your mobile money wallet. So that is it. So why us? We insure our losses to cover your principal amount in the event of flood or drought. We are a registered broker on the Ghana Commodity Exchange. We get our hands dirty, so you don't have to. We leverage satellite imagery to keep so you can keep up to date with your crops. And the pandemic has taught us that food will always be in demand. Our team consists of our CEO, who is Nana. He's a serial entrepreneur and runs, he's a new second father recently today. Does that make sense? No, he just had a baby a couple of days ago, his second child. We have the head of our farming unit, who is Francis, who is pretty much living on the farmland. We have our head of our corporate strategy, Ganapathy, who's based in India, who oversees international trade opportunities. We have Godfred, who is our CTO. Our off-taker manager is Debbie, who oversees our local trade activities. Myself, Lorraine Wright, who oversees the sales and interaction with you lovely people who will be sponsoring us. And then we have Kwame, who is our initial investor and co-founder of this wonderful company. So that is it today. I encourage you all to join us. If you have any questions, feel free to chat them now. I'm keeping an eye on both Facebook and also here on Zoom. Or alternatively, you can reach out to me. My email address is lorraine@growforme.com. I'll just show you my email address here. You can see that on the front page. That's lorraine@growforme.com. Feel free to reach out to me, ask me any questions that you may have, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. So we look forward to welcoming you all as Grow For Me sponsors. I'll wait a couple of minutes just in case there's any questions that come through. Someone has asked the questions, can you sponsor on USSD? If you are local in Ghana and you wish to sponsor through USSD, you can do that simply by typing in the number *800 *008#. So put that into your phone, save it on the Grow For Me, and feel free to sponsor at any time through that USSD code. So that's *800 *008#. Any other questions from anyone on the line? Okay, so my email address is here. If anyone wishes to sponsor, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. There's another question that's come through. How much do we normally get? As I said earlier on the call and a couple of times, there is a range. So on the website, it will show you the potential return in terms of what you may get. It is driven by two things, largely your yield and the price. And also it is determined or is based on the crop. And also there are a number of, there's a number of factors that go into in terms of what the return may be. In the past, our first cycle of maize returned 27% for our investors. Our second cycle of soybean sponsors received 24%. We have been in positions where there hasn't been anything returned, where we've rolled over the funding to make sure we can actually grow again to give the money back to our sponsors. So it ranges. There are risks involved, but as I said in the call, we do all we can to make sure that we do the best possible return for you. So we're all encouraged to, we're sharing the risk here and making sure that we can try and do our best to return as much possible profits for you. Farm visits are always available for anyone that visits Ghana and wants to go and see the farm. So get in contact with us and we will help to facilitate you visiting those farms. You can be anywhere in the world if you wish to sponsor. We have sponsors. Today, we had a call earlier today. We had a sponsor from UK, from South Africa, from America. We also had a colleague from Dubai on the line as well. So you can literally be anywhere in the world and you can sponsor and make an impact in Ghana. We don't necessarily allow children to sponsor, but parents can sponsor on behalf of their children if you're over the age of 18 years of age. We do have to receive ID. When you sponsor, we do need ID and also any government issued ID, so passport, voters ID, driving license, etc., for you to sign up. That is as part of the Bank of Ghana's regulations. We need to know or rather the Security and Exchange Commission's regulations. We need to know our clients to make sure that when we are receiving your funds and we want to return the funds, they actually be returned to you and no one else. So any other questions, please feel free to send those through. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And you can, even on Facebook, you can just, constantly engage with us, just ask questions anytime. We'll be keeping an eye on our Facebook and we will be more than happy to answer any questions for you. So thanks everyone for joining the call today. We hope you are signing up as I speak. I'll be looking through and I'll give a personal call to anyone that sponsors up today. So we're hoping that we can see those people that are logged on Zoom or watching us on Facebook. Feel free to as we speak, log on and, our support team will be ever ready to support you if you like more guidance or hand holding through the process. So once again, thank you very much for joining our webinar this evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are in the world. As I said, we're very much a global company and we'll be more than happy to engage with you through your time as a Grow For Me sponsor. So thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
We'll be ending the call shortly, and we hope to see you sponsor a farm. Okay, then. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.